This club's about winning trophies. I'm inexperienced in a lot of those things.
3-0. Can you believe it?
Almost lost the cup and you win it. The new European champions, the treble, the dream come true for you.
Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we are bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Ooh, sir. How you doing? How you doing? Football is back finally. What has it been? 2 months? 2 weeks? Feels like it. Cannot believe United is back in action this weekend against Newcastle. It's a big match. It's been a lot of negativity surrounding the side. It's been a long international break. So United could use a big 3 points to kick off what's going to be a very busy period of football. Sir, how you feeling?
Busy on busy, sir. We jumped the international break down 6-1 to the goddamn Tottenham Hotspurs. Like we said, it was a tough loss, but I've had some time to think about it. It's already in the past, sir. It's already behind us. Newcastle, that's the task. But no excuses. No excuses in Newcastle. There's no preseason, short preseason, no nothing. We got to win. We need 3 points. You start faltering against Newcastle, it's going to be a tough ride.
Ain't a tough ride yet, but this is the game. You got to win. You know, it's like you had a lot of negativity going into the international break. Obviously, the Spurs match, no one wants to talk about. What match? I don't know. 6 who? But it's now about turning it around and just getting a big 3 points and battling on from there, because you got to go down to Paris Tuesday after we travel up to Newcastle. So it's going to be a busy schedule, and it's about just turning ourselves into form. And there are going to be no excuses. You're right. So there's nowhere to hide. We got to just put performances together and get some wins going.
No, absolutely. And, you know, the way I think about it is it could have been a better time for a big loss, right? You know, you kind of have that big loss. And as long as you come back and you do the business against Newcastle, all is forgotten. The problem is I don't think we're going to lose. It's unlikely that we're going to lose. But if we did, it would kind of be that'd be crisis mode, honestly. All the bells would be ringing. Pochettino, Ole out, everyone kind of slating the boys. And that'd be tough to take. So I really hope we can pull it together. I also don't want to think it's an easy task, right? Harry Maguire just got that red card for England. He looks out of form. Bruno Fernandes, maybe some rumblings there between him and the manager. Seems like a lot of threads we got to pull together really quickly for Newcastle. And there's no easy game in the English Premier League at the moment.
There certainly is not. I found that, the worse a team has performed recently, the more negative bullshit stories there are. So, Maguire not playing well internationally, that's one thing, but this Bruno smoke, that's just because there's a lot of negative sentiment. These Pochettino rumors come. The only person selling Pochettino harder than Pochettino is Ed Woodward, bro, trying to cover up for his failings. But we need a win, and Ole knows he needs it. The boys know they need it. We need just to be everyone stop talking about it. You get a big win at Newcastle, even if it's a close one, even if it's not the prettiest match you've ever put together. It's a 3 points, and that's what we need. And that's the priority for the weekend, sir. That's what it's all about.
And you know what's completely overlooked? The domestic transfer window. Nothing doing. Cantwell, where you at? Woody snoozing. If anything points to that Manchester United is done and dusted, these financials are going to look ugly, is that we're not even trying to do a deal in the domestic window when there's arguably value in the championship to be had. Watford, you can raid the relegated side, sir, And we're not even doing that. No intention to sign a defender. No intention to get a right winger for Ole. I thought the domestic window we could pounce, but there's been crickets, sir.
So it's been crickets. So have you not paid attention? The whole summer was crickets. They did a disaster. I'm past it. The window is closed. We're not getting saved by a signing from the championship. Right wingers. He got 2. They're both 18. One doesn't join till January. But I'm sure Ed Wilbur's hey, I got you wingers. I got you. You said you wanted a 20-year-old. I got you 2 18-year-olds. That's pretty good. You're right, but we got to make the most of what we got. We got to cobble together the players we have, and we need to go out there and win, because they're a good side of that Newcastle team, and they've proved difficult to us, even to Ole in the past.
Absolutely. I saw Facundo in the training gear already wearing the down, and it's only October. Facundo, he's going to freeze. That boy's going to freeze, sir.
It's cold in Manchester. It is cold in Manchester. What can you say?
All right, quick PSA for the podcast. Please write a review on iTunes. That's how we get found from our fan survey. That's the number one way you, the fans, find the podcast. American Red Devils is for fans, by fans. The best way you can support us, write a review on iTunes. We send out a free sticker, sir. All you got to do is screenshot your review, email it to americanreddevils@gmail.com, and we will send you a Sack Woodward sticker, a badge sticker in the mail. Check out our blog, americanreddevils.com, sir. You're the editor-in-chief, doing a great job, and shout out to all of our fan contributors. We really think it's important to get fan-generated content on the best team in world football out there. Eddie has his tentacles and Neil Ashton all in the press, sir. So it's hard to know what you can believe, but you can always trust the fan take, the hot take, sir. We're always coming with it.
For fans, by fans. I'll tell you what, that PR machine's been working overtime trying to make Ed Woodward look good, throwing together whatever they're doing. But support the pod. We appreciate all the fans around the world who do. Write a review. The easiest thing you can do. We are still giving away free stickers if you send in a screenshot of a 5-star review. We to americanreddevils@gmail.com with your address. We'll hook you up with a couple stickers.
So we got some merch on our website as well. Click on store, our new 2020-2021 scarf, the greatest of English football. We won it all. Trophies of all what Manchester United has won in the modern era. Ever since Newton Heath, sir. We didn't put the original Manchester Cup back in the 1880s, I'm going to say. That didn't make it. But we have everything else, sir, and I think this season we're going to need it. We need a reminder of all the trophies Manchester United won, so check that out on our online store. Without further ado, we can jump into our next match. That's right, Newcastle United versus Manchester United, sir. It's getting cold in the north. We're heading up to St. James's Park. What do you make of it? It's going to be a tough match on the Tyne.
It's going to be cold by the river, Tyne. We made the trip up to Newcastle on the way to Sunderland from London. It's a trek, farther than Manchester, a lot farther. It's a hard place to play. They're a solid Newcastle side. It's a big game for us. Ole needs a win. Newcastle are going to be smelling blood. Nervy match, sir. We got a great time, though. Other than the Peacock, it's a great time. 12 o'clock kickoff. It's leisurely.
Sure, I'm having flashbacks to a year ago playing Newcastle. Longstaff with the goal. United fall. I think we fell to 12th, I'm going to say. And that was when De Gea had that famous interview where he said this is the worst it's been since he's been at Manchester United. He got a lot of flack for that interview. Ole was rumored to be getting fired. Again, almost
a lot of rumors.
It's like almost everything's happening again. De Gea's in the spotlight. You got Ole out, already rumored all week. You got Newcastle, and it's going to be a tough, hard-fought match. The only thing I'm worried about is the whole not showing up. We haven't really showed up in matches lately, and it's just a bad habit. We have been able to put it together, and we just got to punch them in the teeth, sir. That's got to be the philosophy from minute one.
It does, and I like the fact that everyone's writing us off again. I mean, what's the same thing? It's United is the team that everyone likes to hate on because we're the most successful team in English football history, the best club in England, and all the journos in London love to shit on Manchester United. So that's what they're going to do. You lose 6-1 to Jose, they're going to remind you over and over again. So what we need to do is win, because last time we played them, I don't think we had a little player named Bruno Fernandes. I don't think we had Mason Greenwood in the form that he's in. I don't think we had Donny van de Beek. So I think what they do against us, which is pack the box and pack the block, we can now break down because we have the players that can pass between the lines and take apart in Newcastle. So we've got to be able to beat a Newcastle, right? Because the league is so strong now that you have to be able to dispel Newcastle away. Just come on, it's part of the deal. Just chomping up points.
And you also know Steve Bruce, manager of Newcastle, ex-Manchester United legend, center-back son. He knows how to defend. And, we have a history of going against Manchester United legends, sir. It's in the league. It could be a testy one. History between the clubs, we've won 87 times, drawn 39, lost 43. But lately, Newcastle has been a little tricky. United have won 3 of their past 5 encounters with the Magpies, losing twice, 1-0 on the road. So on the road to Newcastle, they've gotten the best of us lately. First match ever between these clubs was April 1895 when Manchester United won 5-1 in League Two, sir. Goes way back. A little history on Newcastle. Newcastle United Football Club is obviously based in Newcastle upon Tyne. and Tyne and Wear. So they play in the Premier League, founded in 1892 by the merger of Newcastle East End and Newcastle West End. The team plays its home matches at St. James's Park. They're rumored to be bought out earlier this year, but actually fell through. 1892, when Newcastle was founded, a lot of history there. Ellis Island first opened to allow European immigrants to the United States. I think that's why we're both here. The first publication of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes was published in London in 1892. So a lot of history, rich history in the club. They wear the referee kit, sir. It's the first thing you notice as an American when you go look at their jerseys. You're like, hey, they're wearing the referee kit.
It is true. I think that was one of the first things I picked up from FIFA, other than obviously the beautiful red of the Manchester United kit, is that like, am I playing 11 referees? Because it's a little startling when you're new to the game and you see someone that has, basically the same thing.
No, but it's great. Newcastle have won 4 league titles, 6 FA Cups, and a Charity Shield, so they do have some silverware in their cabinet. The club's most successful period was between 1904 and 1910 when they won the FA Cup and 3 of their league titles. So started early, sir. Obviously, Alan Shearer, all-time leading scorer in Premier League history, played for them as well, managed them. And Newcastle have a long-standing rivalry with nearby club Sunderland, the Black Cats, with whom they have contested the Tyne Wear Derby since 1898. I'll tell you what, nothing like a Tyne Wear Derby. You got the black and white stripes, you got the red and white stripes. Battle for the North. It's great.
It's quite a battle of two cities, tale of two cities indeed. Newcastle versus Sunderland. I mean, I'm sure there's some bad blood. When we went to Newcastle match, we had a great time. Haven't been to a Newcastle match. We went to a Sunderland match. We had a great time rooting on United. You're getting picked on by the guys working at at the actual game. But I'm sure imagining traveling up to Newcastle in general, and I don't know, is so welcoming to the Manchester United faithful.
No, absolutely. It's a great town, sir. Great dark ales. Train's only 4 hours from London, so it was worth the trip up there to watch a game. Players to watch. Callum Wilson has had a fast start to his Newcastle career after making the switch from Bournemouth. Again, 4 goals in 4 matches, sir. Maybe we could have used them. Maybe we could have used a few goals there. They obviously got like Andy Carroll up there, Andy Carroll still
he's not starting these days, bro. They've upgraded. They've got like Wilson can back in a couple of goals faster than old Carroll with his noggin.
No, but Steve Bruce, hoofball, Andy Carroll. Didn't he play for Liverpool, sir? I refresh my memory. They got Saint Maximin Almiron, who came from Atlanta United in MLS, and John Joe Shelby. Didn't he play for Liverpool as well, sir?
He did, sir.
So look out for the attackers on that side. The formation, Steve Bruce likes that classic old English 4-4-2. You like his ales dark, sir. He likes defenders large. Steve Bruce could be well organized, fighting against United. We need to exploit them. We need to break them open. Some fast passing and intent in the final third. We've been lacking that. A lot of just side to side, Lindelof, Maguire, snooze fest here. We really need to get at him, and Bruno Fernandes is going to be instrumental in this game. Martial out, sir, with the red card. Who's going to step up? Who's going to score the goals? Greenwood, Rashford, or is it going to be Igalo FC?
I don't know. Is Nigeria FC ready to step up? I'd love to see it. Who's going to be the man of the day? Bruno, I think he's going to be instrumental in breaking down this team, right? They show that they like to play a 4-5-1. When United do get the ball, throw an extra guy into midfield and just have United work a little harder, break through that line. We couldn't always do it last season, but when we were playing at our best, it was no problem, right? Teams that were trying to do that and like line up that way, you quickly get picked apart if you're actually on their game. So hopefully we can see Rashford starting to get his legs underneath them. Greenwood, we need to see that Greenwood we saw at the end of last season. Vintage Bruno as well. He has gotten the penalties, of course, but we need everybody to start clicking again because we have games and we got big games coming, sir. Newcastle is just the start of things.
It could be a good start or a bad start, sir. We shall see. Looking at physioroom.com, injury suspensions, Martial, 3 matches, straight red card. Cavani is in quarantine. The savior, sir, he will not be joining United. Maybe PSG, but probably the next weekend. Tuanzebe, apparently his debut will be for the U23s, so he should be making that shortly, and then he'll go into the first team. I think Tuanzebe is going to be 2 or 3 weeks before you see him on the bench or maybe breaking into the first team. Romero might be going to MLS. A lot of articles about him not getting treated right here. I totally agree. Apparently, Everton was ready to pay up for him. We did not do the deal. Eddie was not Eddie, Mr. Nice Guy, sir, with that Romero and making him basically not play. And Phil Jones collecting those paychecks with Lee Grant. How can I get that job?
Phil Jones, I think he's got like a bright pink Lamborghini, man. And he's getting paid well. Whatever he's doing, he's getting paid well. And poor Sergio Romero, I think, there was that rumor that we got offered a $2 million loan fee plus full wages, but we don't want to strengthen a rival. I think that's what Woodward was worried about, Everton finishing above United.
That's sad.
I know. Sad. Well, Woodward's sad.
That's how Woodward runs a football club, and all the players. When you're disappointing the morale of the team, they see kind of these decisions being made, and that's how they're going to take care of their own. That's not good. That's not good for the clubhouse, the locker room. Sir, given those injury suspensions, we know what Steve Bruce is going to do. What is your lineup for Newcastle United?
Hoofball FC. Cannot wait to see what Bruce comes up with. But this is my lineup for the game. I got De Gea and net. Back four of AWB, Lindelof, Maguire, and our new man, Alex Telles. And then a midfield three of Matic, Donny van de Beek, and Bruno Fernandes. Front three of Rashford, Galu, and Mason Greenwood. Who you got, sir?
You're getting Telles in there right away. I mean, this guy's
ready to go, baby. Ready to go.
Never watched a game of football in his life. He ain't starting. David De Gea, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Luke, the impossible Mipai Shaw on the left. How dare you put in Telles right away? Pogba, Van de Beek, Matic. That's right. Bruno is not going to feature for Manchester United. I think the COVID contact, we'll see kind of how that plays out. Rashford, Greenwood, and James, sir. Regarding Bruno, he was with Ronaldo. I don't know if he has to test negative twice. He could test negative twice, then test positive. It could be a curveball at the last minute. So that's why I'm not including him in my starting 11. So that and Van de Beek, Matic.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think the whole the COVID now creeping back up is going to be an issue for teams, right? Because you lose a key player for a couple of weeks, and then you talk about a couple of weeks, that's 4 big games. It's going to have ramifications. So hopefully, if Bruno has had some exposure, we get that under control quickly, sir. Because there's a lot of games, and we can't lose. You lose like a Rashford, a Martial. Obviously, we lost him for a couple of weeks, but even a Bruno for 2 weeks would be devastating.
So you're dropping Pogba. Why are you?
Because he needs to be dropped. Because he's arguably had some of the worst form.
Have you seen him play for France? Do you see that pass he hit today?
Does he play for? Is this the French team? He doesn't necessarily play as well when he plays for Manchester United as he plays for the French national team. He's due for a drop. I'm starting Donny van de Beek.
Sir, he's playing lights out for France, doing the shimmy shake with Mbappe. So I'm just letting you know that Pogba's in form for France. I don't think Paul Pogba gets dropped there.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see on Saturday. He's got another game on Tuesday. Got a lot of games to play, sir.
This is true. Booking the bookies. United heavy favorites -150 to win. The draw +300. Newcastle +400. Sir, the goal scorer bets. Bruno Fernandes, the odds-on favorite to score, +350. I got him just not even starting my team. So what do I know? Edison Cavani +350. Igalo +450. Rashford +450. Then Greenwood. Then Van de Beek. So again, odds-on. Van de Beek probably starting. He did score for the Netherlands as well. Van de Beek looking lights out. What is your score prediction for this Newcastle, this tough time at the time?
I think it's going to be a tight match. Not vintage, not something you want to rewatch because there might be a lot of big David De Gea saves keeping us in it. I'm calling 1-0. Squeaky bum time kind of victory, just edging it out. People are going to no one's going to be happy by it, I'll tell you that. It'll be one of those wins where I feel people complaining about the 3 points.
We say 4-1 to Manchester United, sir. We bounce back in emphatic fashion. We batter Bruce's men. Feeling good going to PSG, dealing with the real snakes of the world. Just a touch on our schedule. Look, pod never sleeps. We're doing a remote pod here. Next 6 matches for Manchester United after Newcastle. PSG away, Chelsea at home, Leipzig at home, Arsenal at home, Istanbul away. So we got to go to Turkey. And then we got to go to the Merseyside, play Everton.
I know. And this is all bang, bang. This is Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday. It's not like every week. It's like 2 matches. It's going to be like this all year, baby. Get ready.
This is 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks. This is like the good news is everyone else is going to be just as busy, and so this reminds me. This is like a shootout at the OK Corral, right? Liverpool loses 7-2 to Aston Villa. Like something's going on. I think it has to be the tight turnaround of seasons. Like you can't play at that level for that long. I think you're going to see a lot of ups and downs. Like Everton doing really well, they could fade. All these teams that started like hot, like Crystal Palace, fading. And then all of a sudden United getting better as the season goes on. But I mean, this is all up in the air. I think you're going to see some wild results. I don't think we're going to be happy after the end of these 7 games, but I think we're going to be in it because I think there's going to be a lot of teams losing matches to opposition they shouldn't be.
No, I totally agree. I think it's just going to be a wild season unlike any because it hasn't, it is unlike any just based on the condensed factor of it and just the amount of games we're going to be playing. So if we can, if injuries are fortuitous and Ole gets really good at kind of cobbling 11s together that are a mixed match, which we haven't really seen yet with success, you never know, sir. Because it's got, 7-2. No one's even talking about the fact that like Liverpool got smoked. We got a guy sent off. They didn't get anyone sent off. They got smoked by Villa. And it's funny what people talk about in the journos. They're all talking about Pochettino. Why are we talking about Pochettino, sir? Tell me.
Well, look, we all know Ole's. He has certain strengths and certain weaknesses, right? And one of his strengths and weaknesses is the fact he's streaky. He's streaky to the downside. He's streaky to the upside. So either you're losing, or you're winning, sir. And it's like he loses so bad, like he's about to lose his job, and then all of a sudden just 180, 25 games unbeaten. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know it. But that's why this Newcastle game, I have a feeling either the next 7 games are going to be like getting punched in the teeth, or we're going to be like winning like every game. Yeah. And we're a streaky side, and can Ole grab those reins? We shall see. So the proof is in the pudding. It's a results-based business. Being the Manchester United manager, if he has to do well, these are some big games.
They're big games, and we just for our sake, we need to watch some good games. It's like because we finished the season last year so well, so many exciting matches, big performances, big goals, team, just putting it on the line, whatever it takes to get the performance. And the first 3 matches were so gutless that we just, it feels like we haven't seen our old United. That's why I'm just.
Leicester match. Leicester was
a valiant. Dude, rewatch that game. We outplayed Leicester.
That was not confident, sir.
It was whatever it took. We got the win.
No, I understand. It's a results-based game. It's a results-based game. But watching Leicester City, we was a little nervy.
It was nervy, but the whole season was nervy. We finished 3rd.
Yeah, no. Some games in that run were commanding performances, but not like the United of old, sir. Not like the United of old. United in the news. Everyone talking about it. It was leaked on the Telegraph. Project Big Picture, sir. I've never heard a worse name for a project ever. This was Manchester United Liverpool ownership basically proposing a new structure for the league, the Premier League, the EFL, basically the Championship, League One, League Two, the pyramid of English football. People say, well, why are they proposing a new format? Well, the answer is basically all these clubs in the lower tiers are going broke because there's no fans and the financial state of football is just absolutely a mess. So these clubs are going to go bankrupt, or the government's going to have to step in and bail them out, or the Premier League is going to have to share more money, more revenue with these lower leagues to ensure basically all these local clubs don't go belly up. And so this proposal is sort of a combination of adding some new ideas and then voting power grab for the most prominent clubs in the English Premier League. Sir, we'll go through the key points of the project, but what was your sort of gut reaction to hearing about this? All of a sudden, we're starting a new season. Now we're trying to reorganize the league. What do you make of it?
I thought it was really funny because it went from like all the Manchester United fans hating Ed Woodward's guts, and then a week later, every fan of the Premier League hating Ed Woodward's guts. It's like, you've done such a terrible job running this club. Why would we let you run the Premier League? Get your hands anywhere near it.
It's the Glazers, though.
It's the Glazers. Yes, it's the Glazers vis-a-vis Woodward. He's in a lot of those meetings, and it's like if he's involved, it's not being well run. But I don't want them anywhere to do with it, right? It's like they want to be able to monopolize it the same way they do with NFL, so that the same teams are always powerful and always entrusted to get the same amount of cash every year. And part of the thing that makes this season so exciting and the league is so exciting is because you never know what's going to happen, and you got to be good enough. And the three bottom, if you're not good enough, you're out, bro. And like the difference between being a Sunderland and a Newcastle is luck and a team, putting some performances together. And like, one team's playing in League One team's playing in the Premier League. And that's what's great about the Premier League the way it is. Did anything they do where they're going to try and like instill power in six clubs that are instilled is just kind of nuts. That's why I don't like it.
No, absolutely. Totally agree. I had the same. Anything coming out of the Glazers and John Henry, the Liverpool owner, both Americans, and then obviously Kroenke, owner of Arsenal. Those guys kind of pitching it. Look, the key points was that the Premier League would be reduced to 18 teams, right, sir? That would result in a lengthened preseason. I'm sure that's probably something that people want to see given everything going on lately. The bottom two Premier League teams would be relegated, getting rid of 3 being relegated. Top 2 teams in the championship would be promoted. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th place team in the championship compete in a playoff tournament with the 16th place Premier League team. Sir, I believe it's the 17th place team, not the 16th place. So essentially, the 3rd team that would be relegated would actually go into a playoff with the championship teams. That is decently exciting.
Yeah, I don't mind that one.
This is the big one, killing the League Cup, Carabao Cup, and Community Shield. I like the Community Shield. I don't want to get rid of it. I have fond memories of United winning it. It doesn't really matter, but it's also like a good game between like Chelsea, United, or 2 big teams in England. I do like that tradition of the FA Cup winner playing the League Cup winner. Playing the Premier League champion. I also like the League Cup because it also bolsters revenue for lower teams. The reason for getting rid of this, I think, is for more European competition. That was kind of what they floated. And this is the big hinging point. Controlling power would be given to 9 clubs in the Premier League. Those clubs have been there the longest. You can go through the list: Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham. There's essentially 9. And the crazy thing is the controlling power would be to those 9, but it would only require 6 clubs to vote for a majority control. So it would give power to the top 6, right? And that's why this has kind of been alluded that this is a top 6 power grab. Giving controlling power to 6 clubs is decently unfair, especially how TV rights are going to be negotiated. And the idea behind this power grab would be that Manchester United could charge more or take a bigger percentage of the television rights because more people watch their games versus getting an equal distribution to all teams in the league. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. But as part of everyone voting for them to get all that power, the Premier League would give 25% of annual revenue to EFL clubs, and they would also give $250 million to the EFL, League One, League Two, as well as $100 million to the FA to support grassroots football in England and the overall health of the football pyramid. A lot of that money could go to the women's game, youth development, etc. So there are positive things here, but that really, the devil in the detail, controlling power to 6 clubs, and that could lead to a drastically different, Manchester United getting richer, the poor getting poorer. Sir, we've seen it before. We've seen this movie before.
No, we have. That's why it's like, come on, what are you doing? The league is like the best it's ever been. It's so exciting. You have all these upstart teams that are going to compete with the big dogs, and they want to stifle that because they're worried, bro. As you should be. As United, they're worried, bro, because it's like their cash cow is up for grabs with the Leeds United and the Wolves of the world, who are well run, leanly financed, are not just run as like basically like cash removal vehicles for wealthy families, wealthy owners. So it's the worst thing that could happen. The league is like, it's so great because it hasn't been touched, because the fact that like there's still 45-minute halves, a 15-minute halftime, and a game done and dusted in 2 hours, no commercial. It's like, it's the best sporting experience you can get. And they need to not change it because it's the best, dude. The best of the best make it. And if you're good enough, you stay around. If you're not, down to the championship.
And these are the biggest changes, essentially, to the Premier League structure since it was founded. And they're kind of rushing this. I think this is an opening salvo, so something will happen. There will be a bailout. I prefer the government to get involved versus essentially a power grab by the top 6 teams. Apparently, they threatened to do a breakaway league of their own if they didn't agree to these terms. there is some sort of leverage there. The bigger teams do have, right? I mean, they're the reason why people watch, right? Manchester United doesn't need to be, I mean, they do need to be a part of the Premier League, but they do generate more money to the Premier League than other clubs, and there is a pretty fair TV revenue distribution. So you can understand it, but for the health of football and why the product is the best in the world, like you said, number one league and the number one sport in the world, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Based on the TV rights, they already get more. The teams that do the best, you know, it's tiered. I know, but they get more if you do better in the league. So that already makes sense. And obviously, the better you are, the more fans you have, the more ticket sales you have. It all kind of like makes sense. Giving six all the power just changed it from like a capitalistic system to an oligarch, where you have like these six like kind of chosen families that will be like the deciding dynasty of who comes and who goes. I like the way it is now. It's Wild West. May the best make it, and then the best win. And that's the best thing about it, is just like you never know what's going to happen any given day in the Premier League.
Yeah, and there's something about like part of the reason why, at least when I explain European soccer to people, it's so interesting is the capitalistic elements of it, where Manchester United could get relegated. Like it's obviously unheard of. It has happened in our history, but anything can happen at any time. Leicester City can win the Premier League. The fact that you look at leagues here in the United States, like the NFL, and it's like, I'm a New York Giants fan. Team's terrible, and it's like, as a fan, they're going to get rewarded for being bad, and that just is boring, right? It's like, if a lot of American owners, they just milk the team. It doesn't matter. It's a business. They make money if the team's good. They make money if the team's bad, because it's basically socialized, and there's no consequences from running a bad team, unlike in England. So the Glazers would like to run a bad team like they have with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and just make billions of dollars, right, versus having to actually care about producing a good football team. And so I think the element of what makes English football so great is, promotion, relegation, anything can happen, anyone can win. And when you try to lock the league and consolidate power, that's just not in the faith. I think people would be in the streets revolting. Thank God today this was rejected. Essentially, Project Big Picture, nope. Premier League came out and said, quote, Premier League shareholders agreed to work together as a 20-club collective on a strategic plan for the future structure and financing of English football. This will ensure a vibrant, competitive, and sustainable football pyramid. So essentially they said, no, we're not doing this deal, but we're continuing talks. And I think the whole idea here is that something's going to give, right? Because right now, 20 clubs, they all get a vote. This whole controlling vote coming to 6 teams, something's going to happen where there's going to be a bailout in football. I just hope it's nothing really material and it doesn't give the Glazers any more power than they already have, sir.
No, because they don't even know how to run a club well. So why would they think they'd have any idea how to help, run the FA, run English football in general? So I think this should be rejected straight up because, the 6 teams, they have the biggest fan base, but the whole league is based on playing each other. And it's like, it's kind of boring if you just play, you want to go down and play the teams that are at the bottom of the league, have to go get a win. It just like, it adds to the excitement of it, to the end of the window, right? Listen to every pod we did last season. Every game was a must win because of the nature of the beast. It's the best game in the world, man. And they want to change that because of money so they can just like strip more cash off the top. It's no, thank you, sir.
No, exactly. And so, the outcome of consolidating power is they could block new ownership as well. That's something we didn't talk about. So if a rich person wanted to buy Aston Villa, this top 6 could basically block that from happening. Also, just the consolidation of the TV broadcast rights. So they could say, okay, Liverpool, Manchester United, we're going to sell that for more money to a different network. They could own it themselves versus doing a pooling thing. Obviously, it's tiered, like you said. But, they could do a pay-per-view, Manchester United versus Liverpool, and make everyone pay $45. They're already doing pay-per-view this year, 15 pounds a match, sir. Peacock looking pretty good when you're looking at the UK where you're doing pay-per-view, 15 pounds a match. It's kind of sad when you see how much they're just like nickel and diamond everyone out in the UK for football.
I mean, they're nickel and diamond us here, right? I think, $15 for one match is obscene. But they're charging what? How much is BR Live? How much is ESPN Plus? How much is et cetera, Peacock Premium? It's like, and that's every month. So they're already nickel and diming us in the United States. I think they're finally getting nickel and dimed like an American gets nickel and dimed in the UK now. But that's egregious. I mean, it's so bad. I think they're doing that as kind of like we're going to charge you 15, and then they'll pull it back and do $5 a match because it's like 15 is insane. For one match, that's
they came out and defended that price in the same press release, sir. Look, we'll keep you posted. Hopefully nothing's changing. I'm sure there will be change. Everyone always fights change, but I'm sure there will be change, sir. We'll keep you posted there. Back to some Manchester United news. We touched upon it. Quote, Bruno Fernandes is unhappy with Manchester United's lack of signings this summer and no longer believes Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is up to the task, according to a damaging report from Duncan Castles. His credibility is up and down, but I will have to say, when he didn't come on for the second half against Tottenham, that didn't make no sense. That didn't make no sense, sir. Tell me why he didn't come back out of the dressing room. There's a reason.
I mean, okay, Duncan Castles definitely has no credibility. There's two different stories. The fact that Bruno Fernandes is unhappy with our lack of signings, that is a real problem. That is like, most of the players at this club are top players that can play elsewhere. Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Tony Martial. It's like the fact that we're not strengthening, Aston Villa is spending more money. That is damning. That's where they're like, this club, what are we doing? Or like they're that broke that they don't have this money. Solskjaer being out the task, that may be more up to like there was a tiff with the game. I think that's more just noise. I think it's actually like players being like, this club's kind of a joke, we're not spending money, is more likely the real meat in this story.
Sir, Duncan Castles, I will have to say.
He's like a tier 4. He's like a tier 4 maybe, sir.
No,
I have to be squinting.
Sir, but I don't believe Duncan Castles word for word, right? I know that we were losing, we go in halftime, he doesn't come back on. That didn't make any sense, taking Bruno off. Then the rumors that there was a bust up in the locker room at halftime, and that was part of the reason why Bruno didn't come back on. That does, in my opinion, make sense. We know Bruno has rows against teammates. We've seen it on the pitch. I'm sure he had a row with the defenders in the locker room. Who knows what went down, but I definitely think that when there's smoke, there's some sort of fire. And then what McTominay said, he came out and said the whole club is behind Ole. We believe in every word he said. It's not just him. We trust every word from Mike Phelan, Karen McKenna, Michael Carrick, and the entire support staff, end quote. So he kind of came back supporting Ole in the press. If there's rumors of the falling out, McTominay's out there pumping up Solskjaer in the press. He wouldn't be doing that if he didn't need it. Questions of the United dressing room, questions of what went down with Bruno. I think there's something there, but I do think they're professionals. It'll be forgotten at Newcastle, but just something to watch for, sir. Read the tea leaves.
No, totally. And I think this is more of Bruno Fernandes making the argument that he should be captain of Manchester United. And Harry Maguire is probably not up to it. And I think he showed it when he didn't really do much when Tony Martial got sent off. Because you at least got to make a little bit of a scene. The more you see that, the more damning it gets. Bruno, man, he wears it on his sleeve. And honestly, that's what United loves, bro. That's like built into our DNA. So I think maybe it's just like Ole is fighting his head versus heart, and he wants to keep with his old English, his stack of bricks that is Harry Maguire. But I do think Bruno is the man long term. It's got to be your captain. Like he's the heart of this team right now.
Absolutely, Bruno Fernandes. I think he's my captain, sir. You look at Harry Maguire fumbling, bumbling, rumbling lately. He looks like I like Harry Maguire, but I don't think he has the mentality required. And Bruno's mentality is like he already owns this team, almost like a Roy Keane personality where it's probably so big in the dressing room that it could butt heads with the coach. And that's how I could see him getting taken off. I like the fact he doesn't lose his cool. We saw the video of him at Sporting kicking, trying to destroy the hallway. He definitely has a temper,
Yeah.
So like I could see Bruno going crazy. But at the end of the day, Roy Keane went crazy. We won titles. I think you gotta use that, right? Ole can't fight that.
Dude, Cantona was drop kicking fans in London, so you need that. I mean, you need a little bit of edge, especially in Premier League now. And this team, we don't have enough winners, man. We don't have enough players in this team that have won Premier League titles. Really, it's just De Gea at this point of starters. So we need a little bit of that metal, a little bit of that steel. Some of the young lads have it. I think Harry has it in spats, but Bruno brings it every day, no matter what. I think he's the obvious choice. It's just that I don't want to see the bust ups and because of the 6-1s and just Duncan Castles, bro. What do you mean?
Next bit of news here. press release from Manchester United. Manchester United PLC, trade on the New York Stock Exchange, one of the most popular and successful sports teams in the world, playing one of the most popular spectator sports on earth. Today announced that it will report results for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2020, period ended 30th of June 2020, on Wednesday, 21st, October 2020, approximately 7 a.m. Eastern time, followed by a conference call with Eddie at 8 a.m. Sir, you want to listen to Eddie?
No.
Having a down day? Listen to this call, sir. I will be up at 5 a.m. Pacific to listen to Ed Woodward mumble and rumble on the investor call, telling everyone why you lost $100 million. This fucking Muppet, sir. Hashtag Glazers out. Get your stuff at the American Red Devils store. Hate this man. I'm on it, sir. I'm on the beat. I'll be reading the financials early, sir. Early.
Poor bastard you. Eddie Woodpecker Woodward, just like, mumbling, stumbling, making £5 million a year and losing £100 million and still keeps his job. Honestly, he's probably the worst CEO in world football. It's like, not
absolutely. Something about, bad people doing bad things, just bad. I love just watching the train wreck. I can't wait to hear Eddie Woodward tell everyone how Manchester United increased their brand by signing Edison Cavani. All this. It's gonna be, sir. We'll play the clips. From the call. I'm sure there'll be some gems. We'll play on next pod. Jumping in fan questions, sir. We're going to touch on these real quick. At Man United DYL, quote, when will the Glazers and Woodward actually be gone, sir? Have a go.
I don't know. I mean, my hope when I saw that whole project cash grab, whatever it was called, that we talked about a little earlier in the news, sir, was that was like their last stand. Like on their way out, they're basically forced to sell the club at the moment because they've run to the brink, and then COVID just kind of caught them napping. Maybe like them trying to do this power grab of the Big Six, their last attempt to hold on before they actually leave. I hope it's in the next 12 months. That maybe like COVID will force their hand and we'll bring in a new buyer. Someone like the Ortega family. That would be right up my alley.
Yeah, look, Glazers, their one motivation is money, and they're going to wait for the right offer. So I don't think the right offer is going to be during a crisis. I think it's going to come when fans are back, Manchester United are back in some capacity, and the cash machine is churning. So I'm looking at probably 3 to 5 year timeline on their exit. I'd probably think maybe 3.5, 4 years. They'll sell it. They're not going to sell it cheap, sir. So we shall see. Quote, at Jordan with an IN _R, quote, will Ole ever change formation or tactics? Question mark. Got to give them time with new signings, but how many more games do they have to look like they're violently hungover on match day? This squad should put us in the top 3. I agree, sir. What do you make of that?
No, I definitely agree that this is a top 3 caliber squad. I do agree that I think Ole's got to switch it up, especially if you're bringing in some other players. I kind of want to see Donnie brought in for Paul. Maybe you mix it up. Don't do the 4-2-3-1 like he always does. Maybe play the 4-3-3. I think we're due for a switch up, but Ole likes to stick with what he knows.
Absolutely. At Ty Kershaw on Twitter, quote, lots of talk of Bruno dissent from Ole over the break. Do you buy it, or is it Woodward trying to sow distrust in Ole? I don't buy it. Far too early for this crowd. Very nervous for Saturday. We need 3 points. I agree. He says hashtag Glazers out, hashtag Woodward out, sir.
Dude,
comment on the Bruno stuff. I think it happened, but I also think that Fergie kicked the boot at Beckham's head and then it was it's over in the next game. I think football is just a passionate thing. People get upset and then they're professionals. I don't think Bruno's going to hold a grudge against Ole, but I do think that, Ole should be leaning into Bruno, leaning into Lindelof and Maguire. I think Ole, Mr. Nice Guy I think he lacks an edge in the dressing room, whether that's tactically or not. I think he had it on the field when he was a player, but for some reason, I think he's soft behind the scenes just because the way the new players act. And Ole just needs that edge because that's when we go on a losing streak. He doesn't kick him up the ass,
But then, I hear you and I agree. I think he had it as a player. I think he needs to unleash the edge he already has in the dressing room.
Exactly.
Unleash what you already got. Bruno showed up like a late Christmas gift at the end of January, sir. You just make him your captain. I mean, honestly, they should have made him the captain after the summer. because it was so obvious that he's like that beating heart, especially after all that hairy hijinks down in Greece. Now, it's just like his head is turned, bro. It's like right now you make a quick change. Bruno, give him the band. He's the guy, dude. No big deal. Harry wouldn't mind. Honestly, I think Harry would like appreciate the pressure being off of him.
Dude, I saw him play. I saw the highlights against Denmark. And he looks like you need to bench him. He looks like that.
Sweet.
Like I thought, like he went to Greece, came back and was like, I'm not apologizing for nothing. And I was like, there's my man. Harry's gonna come back and like I thought he'd come back in like beast mode and play really well. Instead, he's playing absolute shambles. His confidence looks totally shot. And Newcastle, it's gonna be like on ice skates. Harry Maguire on ice skates in the back. I think you're gonna see him kind of wobble. De Gea with some gas as well for Spain. Spain's trying to get him to play out from the back. It looked pretty like, again, ice skates to Heath. Wobbly at the knee, sir.
It's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season. Oh, my God.
I'm just telling you, those two. I'm watching De Gea. I'm watching Lindelof. I'm actually, I don't know. He kind of came out with a statement. Lindelof, I'm actually not as worried about Lindelof as I am Maguire.
Lindelof, your boy Lindelof, you're criticizing. You're throwing a lot of shade. We're going to need him. I mean, God, like when does the window close? The league. Now I'm thinking about championship centrebacks we could sign. They said they won't. Woodward will not sign Ole, another center back, until he gets rid of Jones and/or Rojo, which is I don't know how that's Ole's fault, but basically it's like he refuses to sign another center back. So one of those two is off the payroll.
Ed Woodward's the worst human being of all time. Can't wait for that conference call, sir. Can't wait for that conference
5
call.
5 a.m., sir. Good luck.
All right. I think that wraps up the traditional part of the pod, sir. We're going to be jumping into a new segment premiering here on the podcast, one that we will be covering throughout this season, probably next season as well, in different parts of Manchester United. It's Manchester United history time, sir. Bust out the history books. We're going to be covering how it all began in 1878, the Heathens, sir, Newton Heath, all the way back. Credit to Manchester United, the biography, Wikipedia. We've read a lot of different things here, learning about the history of Manchester United, sir. Tell us a little bit about the history of Manchester United, the history of the city. I think this is probably a good place to start. There's so much to talk about here.
I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell.
It is. And the story itself, the story of Manchester United cannot be told without telling the story of Manchester itself, really what was happening in Northern England, the 19th century when our great football club kind of first bust onto the scene. But I wanted to drop some context. I thought this was a great quote. 1835, French historian and social observer Alexis de Tocqueville journeyed to England and recorded his diary, his impression of a visit to the industrial city of Manchester. From this foul drain, the greatest stream of human industry flows out to fertilize the world. From this filthy sewer, pure gold flows. Here, humanity attains its most complete development and its most brutish. Here, civilization works its miracles, and here, civilized man is turned back almost into a savage. There's something about 1835 Manchester that just sets the mood because it was a long time ago, and it was a much different Manchester. And it was a small market town, sir. 18th century, really, when you got into the Industrial Revolution, it was an area of the country and an area of the world that was defined by cotton. And because the textile industry in the region became the big thing and the reason that Manchester originally gained some wealth at the time. So a lot of textiles in Manchester, and they did a lot of trading through the port of Liverpool, which was connected with Manchester by the Mersey and Irwell rivers. But the big thing was that during the mid-19th century, as Manchester grew to the cotton industry, it was dubbed Cottonopolis. And a branch of the Bank of England was established in 1826. So all about it, sir. It was all about the cotton trade in Manchester.
No, it's absolutely crazy, sir. You want to talk about the Industrial Revolution. There's no city in the world that sums it up better in the north of England. At one point, I think Manchester produced more cotton products for the world than any city ever at that point. And it's kind of crazy when you think textiles, but textiles in northern England, that's just basically the way it was. And that's why football thrived, right? Because essentially in the Industrial Revolution, people would come in, they'd work at these factories, they'd have Saturday afternoon off, and either you went to the pub and you drank. Average age, life expectancy was like 40, 42 at that time. So sport became a thing, right? When people were basically living in the woods, hunting and trapping before they had jobs in the city, sir, they didn't need sport. So also the population became more literate as well. And this is kind of why sports started thriving in England, sort of the mid-19th century. But it's crazy cottonopolis, if you will.
It's a good point, sir, because as you're getting to the later and in the 19th century, everyone started moving to the cities, right? And the factory work, and life was hard. You said 40. Some places it was even lower than that. I think they had life expectancy in areas, I think it was called Little Dublin in Manchester, was like 17 in the mid-19th century, just because life was hard, the air wasn't good, they were drinking heavy, and they were doing backbreaking work. But that is why they started playing football. And even you get back to Manchester United, the roots of Newton Heath, they were doing it to occupy the workers of that club. But let's talk about Manchester. Let's wrap that up real quick. Manchester was always kind of in the shadow in the north of Liverpool. Liverpool was like this great, strong, rich shipping town, and they'd kind of run the roost being a local neighbor. But big thing that happened in Manchester in the turn of the century was 1894. They opened the Manchester Ship Canal, which was a huge deal because it allowed them to ship things directly from Manchester to the ocean without having to pay Liverpool and their egregious costs of shipping, because they were just, typical Scouse bastards squeezing every dollar out of those fine working merchants in Manchester, sir. So as soon as the canal showed up, Manchester became the big city on the hill, the rich city. And it went from being a 19th century Liverpool town, century to a 20th century Manchester century. It was like when the city arrived, and it was also good timing with a rival Manchester United, sir.
Yeah, but that's why when you go to Manchester today, you go to Trafford Park, where Old Trafford is, you see the canal, sir. You see the business. When they outcut Liverpool, that's why, you think of Liverpool. Yeah, you think of the Beatles, you think of certain things, but you think of industry in the north. Manchester United really is the capital of England. That's where you'd fly into as well, the major airport hub. It is why it is this way today, because of the ship canal built over 120 years ago, if you can believe it. These types of things, looking back on them, there's a lot of crumbs in here. And that is why the power shifted from Liverpool to Manchester. That's why there's a different accent 45 minutes away. Sir, that is why these two towns absolutely despise each other. You got the Scouse bastards, sir. You have the noble Manchester citizens.
Manchester, they started from the bottom and now they're here. Liverpool had the perch and then they got knocked the fuck off. And then they're always just kind of bitter, pissed off because their city is just not as cool as Manchester. And they got a chip on their shoulder. And Manchester, there's something about this town. You got to go there and you see it. And it's in the fabric of Manchester United as well. So that's why it's so interesting to tell the early years. This was a different England, a different Northern England, and a different Manchester. You go now, it looks like a proper cosmopolitan city. Back in the day, it's a damn old town, sir.
No, absolutely, sir. And then quick segue, we just covered the history of Manchester. Just a very, very light history, but going into the foundations of modern football and how it developed, right? We talked about Victorian Britain, right? This is kind of the theme, the Industrial Revolution, people moving to cities, working in jobs, like whether it be the railway in Manchester or whether it be the textile factories. And then there's this need for leisure, right? Because essentially everyone's just getting ham-boned all the time, or basically fighting to the death out. Sir,
about right. Keep going. You're right.
Sir, they don't have iPhones. They don't have podcasts. They can't,
no penicillin.
They don't have dentists, So from the Encyclopedia Britannica here, quote, most of the new working class inhabitants of Britain's industrial towns and cities gradually lost their old pastimes such as badger baiting, and they sought fresh forms of collective leisure. From the 1850s onward, industrial workers were increasingly likely to have Saturday afternoons off, so many turned to a new game of football to watch or play. Key urban institutions such as churches, trade unions, and schools organized working class boys and men into recreational football teams. And that accompanied the rising adult literacy spurred press coverage of organized sports. So a lot of people like to read about sports, local pride, etc. And then transport systems as railways enabled players and spectators to travel to football games. So it's kind of this perfect storm, if you will. And then also sport exploded. There were many forms of football, right? So you look at football in the UK, you look at football here, you look at rugby, they all originated from the same sport. Essentially, in Victorian Britain, when they say football pre-1850 or pre-1840s, it really meant you got to take a ball from one side of the field to the other side of the field, whether you use your hands, your feet, or anything. So this is kind of where this sport of football split into many sports. And it started in 1848 when the Cambridge rules were written. These are the first official rules of football, sir. If you Google it, you can see all 11 rules. They were signed by multiple schools in an attempt to unify the rules. These were 5 schools who met, and they agreed on these 10. And this is what they included, sir. They included catching the ball if it was kicked in the air. So if you kicked the ball in the air, you could catch it. You could not pass the ball forward. That was not allowed. And goals were flag posts with a string. So you want to talk about 1848, the OGs, bro. They went hard. And then after the Cambridge rules, Sheffield rules in the north of England, these became really popular. And they kind of dominated. These rules dominated football from the 1860s and 70s. And Sheffield Football Club is the oldest founded football club. That you can Google that one as well. In the Sheffield rules, it included a fair catch, which is what we have in the NFL, right? If you can fair catch a punt, you fair catch somebody kicking it. So if Pogba hits you a pass on the wing, you catch it, you get a free kick. And you can push with your hands, but you cannot hack or trip. And the ball could be pushed or hit with the hand, but it could not be carried, right? There were no such thing as goalkeepers. There was no such thing as defense. There was no formation. This is pretty much just like playing in the slopster, playing in the mud, a good old game of football, pushing and just whacking the ball with your fist into the net. So you have to kind of go, if you're going this far back, you're not even really playing the same game.
Football, yeah, soccer, totally different names, totally different sports. It's interesting to see that split, and one just kind of go more the rugby route, less rules, and one go the proper football route, use your feet and no hands at all.
But I thought what was really cool is that all these different schools and all these different regions had different rules, and then they were kind of proud of those rules, and it took kind of 2 major efforts to try to unify them. And it wasn't until 1863 when the FA was formed. The FA, they run English football, the oldest football association in the world, and it is responsible for basically the rules of modern football. Sir, in order to form the FA, 11 clubs met at the Freemasons Tavern on Queen Street in London from October to December of 1863 to establish unified rules for football as we know them. In December 1863, the laws of the game were written, and funny anecdotes from that debate from 1863. It was long and furious because some people wanted you to be able to pick up the ball like a football and run it. Some people, it was a dribbling game and then, kind of the carrying game. There were 2 different games. They were battling it out. And it was on December 8, 1863, carrying the ball by hand was outlawed, and football and rugby went their separate ways. So essentially that is the diverging point, is when the FA said you cannot use your hands. And also they outlawed hacking and kicking opponents, to which F.W. Campbell of Blackheath was very much in favor of kicking your opponent. And he said, if you do away with hacking, he said, you will do away with all the courage and pluck of the game. And I will be bound to bring over a lot of Frenchmen who would beat you within a week's practice.
So I can only imagine the early meetings, and they're all sitting in a room deciding the rules and deciding, no, I want to hold the ball. No, you can't hold the ball.
Yeah. And sports, he appealed, were about pain, brutality, and manliness. Without that, if it actually came down to skill, any old foreigner might be able to win.
There you go, sir. As old as time.
So he actually withdrew Blackheath from the FA officially because you couldn't hack your opponent. But all these types of rules were funny. Like some people you would just kick the shit out of somebody down the field. Either way, exciting time in football. The rules were written called the laws of the game. You can see those as well. Those are online if you Google that. Law 6, this is the big one. This was the no forward passing, right? So when football was established by the FA, you couldn't pass the ball forward. And then it wasn't until 1866, so 3 years later, they realized passing the ball forward might be good for the sport. And that was when offsides was established. And it was 3 members of the defensive team had to be behind the ball versus today's 2, right? So that was revised later on. But again, 1866, you're starting to see these are the rules, sir. They're written down on paper. It's formed. That is incredible if you think of that history over 150 years ago.
Sets the stage very well for the greatest of English football, sir. You mentioned it earlier. There were a couple of reasons why people would start football clubs back in the day, whether it be for churches or a trade union or a school. Our club was founded in 1878 and was founded as Newton Heath LYR Football Club for the carriage and wagon departments of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Depot at Newton Heath. So, you know, like it wasn't a church. It was basically for the workers who worked for Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. So they have a little bit of diversion on the weekends, sir. They get, you know, it would stop getting bladdered for a couple hours and go watch each other kick a ball around. Obviously, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. This was one of the major British railway companies in Northern England. They have the 3rd largest railway system based in Northern England. And Newton Heath obviously is an area of Manchester, the northeast of the city center. Remember, back in 1878, Manchester was still a hard town. Life expectancy was short. Pay was rough. And like we said, 17 years old was as low as some life expectancy in the notorious Little Ireland section of Manchester, sir.
Sir, but this is where the history of the football club comes from. You know what's funny about the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway is I looked up the LYR trains. It looks like the Thomas the Train. So you can YouTube it. You can see the train. It's like they actually took one of the classic trains out. They did coal. They did everything. The heart of the Northern Railway system ran through Manchester. If you go to the Manchester train station today, there is a mural of it right when you walk in. So we've seen it a few times. It's pretty awesome to know your history here. But the railway is where it all started. The Heathens, sir. The Heathens.
Dude, we were a hard club from the back in the day, and the Heathens wasn't just because of Newton Heath. They were heathens indeed. We said it. Drinking was the primary escape for the hard life of a factory worker.
Ale. A lot of dark ale. Sir, dark sludge ale. So, you can only imagine the
QPR style, right? Like out of a bucket. So the board of the LYR decided to organize classes of improvement. Rugby was the sport of choice in the day, but because of the violence, the committee picked football as it was seen as an image of gentlemanliness, which I know nothing about. But heathens were born, sir. They thought like football was a little bit more polite, a little less rugged than rugby. Manchester United, first competitive match. Team initially played against other departments and railway companies, but actually on the 20th of November, 1880, first recorded match for what would become Manchester United, wearing the colors of the railway station, green and gold. They were defeated 6-0 by mighty Bolton Wanderers, the reserve team of Bolton Wanderers, sir. Started from the bottom.
Yeah, Bolton Wanderers were big back in the day, sir. The green and gold to the club is sold, sir. These original colors, Newton Heath, that was the colors of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. It's why they wore them. And you think about the history of football, like we said, the trends, the different rules being set. And then in the 1870s, 1872 was the first FA Cup. Then basically Newton Heath founded 1878. So it's kind of a trend. Everyone's starting football teams. And this is kind of when football really exploded on the scene in England. And Newton Heath, a part of it right before, the Football League would be founded, sir. A quick note, after Manchester United was founded, sir, like you said, their first match against another competitive team, Bolton Wanderers, 1880, underground professionalism in the sport. So essentially the FA remained staunchly elitist in sustaining a policy of amateurism, right? And that protected the upper and middle class influence over the game. So football kind of started as that, gentlemanly game. So we can't even say the word gentlemanly. That's how ungentlemanly we are.
Exactly. Basically.
No, but it's interesting. And so they basically didn't want any professionalism. And then, the Bolton Wanderers textile factory started paying people to play, start buying players. And then basically it hit crisis in 1884 when the FA expelled 2 clubs for using professional players. But the payment of players was just so commonplace. The FA had to sanction professionalism in 1885. So right around that time, Manchester, Newton Heath being founded, but football would quickly go the professional route. Sir, a great not documentary, but kind of an emo series, The English Game on Netflix. It's pretty good.
What is it, sir?
A little too much romance for me. It's slow, but if you just want to see what it's like, watching the early days of football, I think they did a decent job at it.
I'll have to check it out, sir. I can imagine that there were a lot of like shady business operations, with switching players around, paying people, behind the FA's back. Sounds a little bit like, the controversy around paying players in college football. It's just like, that's too dignified to pay them, right? Couldn't possibly.
That's a great analogy, and the English Game covers it, right? It covers a player who's basically paid to play and is under the table, and it kind of gets exposed, and all these like Oxford guy, you have like the classic Oxford guys being like, oh, you can't be paid, you poor, like you have to be a gentleman and study and whatever. It's basically great. Early footballing highlights for Manchester United. Newton Heath played Blackburn Olympics, then FA Cup holders in the first round of the 1883-84 Lancashire Cup. Their first match against a really big club. They lost 7-2, sir. Big scores early days on, as there was kind of a lot of variability to competition. They reached their first final the following season, but lost 3-0 in the Manchester United Cup to Hurst. But after that, sir, in the next season, Newton Heath would win their first ever trophy, securing the Manchester Cup in a 2-1 win. So our first trophy ever, Manchester Cup, 2-1 win, sir.
1886.
Sir,
runs deep. I don't think the Manchester Cup made it onto the scarf, but it deserves to be.
No, it's Newton Heath. It's Newton Heath. 1886 Newton Heath. They win the Manchester Cup, first trophy of all time. Still, it's one to remember. They joined the Northern Football Alliance in 1890. That was the inaugural year of the Northern Football Alliance, right? So like we mentioned, football's getting started. The FA makes the rules, and then you're starting to see leagues form. So the Northern Football Alliance formed with 12 teams. Newton Heath participated in them. In 1881-82, the second season of the Northern Football Alliance, Newton Heath had their best year. They finished second behind Nottingham Forest. But in 1892, the expanding Football League, coming from the South, they merged with the Northern Alliance to create 2 divisions under one banner of the Football League. This is the Football League. This is the same league that we play for. And both Nottingham Forest and Newton Heath were invited to enter the first division, sir. So we got bumped to the first division of the Football League. That is kind of when it went official, was in the 1892-93 season for Newton Heath. They dropped the Lancashire Yorkshire Railway from their name. They became Newton Heath this season. And if you look at their fixture list here, started off, we lost 3-4 Blackburn Rovers away, drew Burnley at home, lost Burnley away 4-1. We lost to Everton 6-0, tied West Brom, lost to West Brom, then beat Wolves 10-1, right?
10-1, I love it.
Look, but what's amazing is these names, like 1892-93, Burnley, Everton, West Brom, Sheffield Wednesday, Nottingham Forest, Blackburn Rovers, Everton, Notts County, all these teams still around, sir.
Yep, I love it.
And you think about 1892, that's unbelievable. Look, it was Manchester United, for Newton Heath, I keep calling them Manchester United. They're not Manchester United at this point. It was a tough run in the first division. It was almost like the boots are a little too big for us. The next season, the team moved to the same season when they joined the first division, they moved to a new ground on Bank Street, which hysterically was located next to a chemical works plant. You can actually Google Bank Street Football Stadium in Manchester. You'll see where it was. The conditions were so poor at the ground that one of their opponents appealed the result of a match because of the chemicals being produced from the chemical plant. This is like 1892, sir. There's no environmental protections. They got like noxious fumes on the pitch while they're playing. You gotta love it, sir. You gotta love the grit.
Old English, sir, as deep as it goes. And it was hard days for Newton Heath at the beginning, right? We never really kind of did much better than the second division. Financial issues were always at head. They were always trying to get money, had debt. So it was a rocky road at first, running up to the turn of the century.
Yeah, so we played 2 tough seasons in the first division. We went through some of the losses there. Burnley beating us bad, sir, back in the day. We got relegated to the second division after 2 seasons in the first. And then 1886, we did play in the FA Cup for the first time. We drew Fleetwood Rangers 2-2. Then we refused to play extra time and basically got bounced for that. This was kind of the real gentlemanliness. You do something and you appeal to the FA. A lot of appealing to the FA back in the day because there weren't really enough rules. So there's just a lot of riffraff like that. And United, basically Newton Heath, continued to end the century in an unspectacular second division slide. The highlight was winning the Lancashire Cup in 1898 against the mighty Blackburn Rovers. But like you said, financial issues would mount. Again, a lot of momentum going to the first division, getting that new ground at Bank Street next to the chemical factory, huffing those fumes, sir. What a home field advantage, huffing those chemicals. And then, the club's on the rise. We get battered in the first division, drop down, and then the financial woes begin.
They did. Goodbye, 19th century. Hello, 20th century. Hello, the arrival of Manchester United. And it all started with a little help from man's best friend, sir. It was January 1901. Debts were mounting. We had 2,700 pounds, equivalent to almost 300,000 pounds in 2020 dollars. And the club was served with another winding up order. It said, pay your debts or we're shutting you down. Captain Harry Stafford, tireless fundraiser of the club, had always been for years, and used his St. Bernard dog, Major, to solicit cash from charities of fans throughout Manchester. And in February of 1901, as usual, the club was cash-strapped. Stafford organized another fundraising bazaar in St. James Hall in Manchester Town Centre to try and raise that 2,700 pounds that was needed to stave off bankruptcy. But the day was a fundraising disaster, and Major the dog disappeared. Fortunately, later in the day, the dog was found by a local wealthy brewery owner, John Henry Davies, who later became the club president. He was looking for a dog as a gift for his daughter. So Stafford, the captain, and John Henry Davies and 3 other local businessmen invested 500 pounds each after Davies and Stafford brokered a deal. Said, put in money into the club and I'll give you the dog. So he gave him his daughter. So it was like,
sorry, not for the dog, but
No, but that was kind of like how they made peace. You break bread before you do a business deal. It's like, I'll give you the dog, you put money in the club, and we'll do business together. And there you go. The rest is history, sir.
Look, it's a legend of the club. There's a lot of ways it's told. One way it was told is that John Henry Davies was looking for the dog, looking to buy a dog for his daughter, found the dog, then found the captain, then got sold in the club. It go either way. They save the club. He gives them the dog. We all know the deal, sir. Could you imagine we're only in debt in 300,000 pounds in modern day, but we're actually 600 million in debt? We're more in debt now than when John Davies found the dog. And, that's the way it goes.
I can, because you know what? John Henry Davies was a class act and is a lot different than our current owners. Because what he did, he got into the club right away. And what he do? He cleaned off all the debt off the books. He made sure that first and foremost, let's get the fans together, directors, interested parties. And they did so on the 26th of April, 1902. And they said, you know what? It's time to name this football club. Put the bed in Heath. And the story goes, it's just like this. This is folklore. Major's folklore. Well, so is this, sir. The story is that a 19-year-old supporter named Louis Roca said that the name that he thinks is the best is Manchester United. And apparently everyone was like, yes, that's the name. The rest is history. And they decided to play in red and white. John Davies, that was his pick. Manchester United is born, sir. Away we go.
They decided to change the name because they no longer played at Bank Street. They no longer played in Newton Heath. They weren't associated with the railway anymore. So it made sense to kind of refresh the brand. And, John Henry Davies, he was smart. He was an opportunist, right? He saw this team struggling. He saw what he could make them. The branding of Manchester United was to appeal to a larger town of Manchester, right? As football was a burgeoning business. He invested in the Bank Street Stadium. I want to say he expanded it to where it could accommodate 50,000 fans, made money there. And then he actually, he bought the land, Old Trafford, and moved us down the road, Trafford Park. And then the rest is history. So, John Henry Davies, if not for him, if not for a lot of things here, the railway, opportunistic businessman, major, Manchester United wouldn't be a thing. It'd just be another dead club. There's tons of clubs that were started back in this day that didn't last, and Manchester United all the way back. So when we say 1878, we mean 1878, documented all the way back.
Heathens thumping around even back then. And like you said, this is just the beginning, because we got to talk about part 2, right? This is part 1 of Manchester United history. Next, we're doing Mangal's magic and the foundation of the greatest of English football, because then we start talking about kind of, the foundation that they really established at the beginning of the century, bringing Mangal over and winning those first titles. It was huge. So that's next time, sir. Maybe when we do the next international break.
No, absolutely. I think doing the Manchester United History podcast was request on the survey, something we're going to keep doing. Love diving into the history, sir. Like I said, credit to the Manchester United biography by Jim White, and the Inverting the Pyramid by Jonathan Wilson. 2 books we referenced, Wikipedia, sir. Shout out to the wives for letting us read about this stuff in our spare time. I'm a history nut. I love this. Some people might find it boring, but it's really the whole picture kind of crystallized for me when you see the foundations of football, why it started all coming together, and then kind of the boom sort of in the late 19th century. And that's really when Manchester United took root. Is an opportunistic businessman came in, invested cash, built out the stadiums. Fans loved it, and I love the fact that it's almost like different rules, like the best rules won. If you look at the game we watched today, and this is just it was exported around the world. It's like everyone agreed these rules, this sport, this format, number 1, sir, and all started in textile mills in Victorian times in Britain. It's unbelievable.
And there's a lot more greatness to tell. We're just getting started. We haven't even won a title yet at this point, so it's just getting going. But like you said, these rules, there was like all the consolidation of the leagues was basically happened between like the 1880s and the 1920s when it was officially set. 1926 I think was when it was set like proper the way it is now. Now we talked about it in the news. Why would we want to change it? It's like this is the best league because of the way it's set up and the fact that you got to be the best in order to make it. So, best league in the world, sir. Manchester United is a great part of that.
Yeah, shout out to F.W. Campwell from Blackheath for wanting to get hacking. Imagine if hacking was legal in the game, sir.
They still do it.
Would be a little better.
Have you seen? Did you watch any football back in the 90s? Said they did a lot of hacking.
Yeah, sir. If we don't allow hacking, some Frenchmen might come in and beat you. Hey, I watched France. They look pretty good, sir. The Frenchmen.
Sir, we got a couple good Frenchmen in our repertoire. Cantona, Pogba, sir. Come on.
Look, it's been a podcast. Sir, we got the history. We got Newcastle. Look, lots to look forward to. Everything to play for.
Great time to lose big. Great time to lose big.
3 points. A noon kickoff here. This could be great. American Red Devils for fans, by fans. Like we said, support the podcast, drop a review on iTunes. Check out our store, sir. Blog is ripping. Thanks to all our fan contributors. Give us our top downloads last 7 days, international break style.
Sir, number 1, how you doing? Columbus, Ohio. Los Angeles, California. Gig Harbor, Washington. Number 4, Oslo, Norway. Number 5, Maple Ridge, Canada. Not bad, sir. Number 6, Nederland, Texas. Gaithersburg, Maryland, Santa Ana, California, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and last but not least, Longview, Texas. Thank you to all the American Red Devils out there, all the Manchester United fans listening in week in, week out. Appreciate all you who write reviews, check out the blog, follow us on Twitter, etc., etc., etc. Sir, we got the greatest fans in the world. What a pod, what a blog. Loving it.
Sir, I love to try the maple syrup and Maple Ridge.
I bet it's good. I bet it's tasty stuff.
It flows, sir. It flows via a river. It's awesome, sir. Can't wait. Newcastle, tough times at the time. We're going to rewrite history. Let's do it. As always,
kicking a flow.